Hi guys, I'm Lorella. I'm not a farm girl and I'm on a homestead adventure.
I'm Big C.
Big C. Since when?
You know, Dirt Patch's husband is Mr. Dirt. There's Mr. W and Mrs. W.
So you're Mr. Girl.
I need like a good nickname. Maybe you guys could help me out.
He's Mr. Girl, right? If I'm not a farm girl, he's Mr. Girl. We've been invited by Jeanette at the Neals Homestead to be part of a collaboration entitled What's So Good About Missouri?
Lots of things, I think.
I think so. I came prepared.
I got my cards as well.
All right. And several other channels are also a part of this. So if you look down in the description, there's a link to each one of their YouTube pages there. So go and check out what they think is so good about Missouri. If you don't know our story, let me just catch you up a little bit. We lived in Los Angeles area for almost 25 years, right?
20-ish.
20-ish? Yeah.
21, 22.
Right, because we were in Louisiana a couple years prior to moving to California. Right, so we lived in California in the Los Angeles area for 20 years. Chris worked in the television and film industry, and I worked as a sign language interpreter, both working full-time jobs, making pretty good money, still living paycheck to paycheck in a tiny little house surrounded by lots of other tiny little houses, surrounded by lots of other tiny little houses.
But not like the modern tiny house.
And, right, to infinity and beyond of houses. Right, yeah. It wasn't tiny because we were part of the movement. It was tiny because that's what we could afford. But the weather's great. So, but we're not talking about what's good about California.
No.
No. We're here to talk about what's so good about Missouri.
That's right.
So after 20 years of living like that, we wanted to make a change and make a move to somewhere where we could be a little more self-sufficient, where we could have a little more room to breathe and grow and exercise our freedoms. And we looked at several different states, but we ended up in Missouri. So let's talk a little bit about why. And Chris, I think I'm going to let you read your first card.
One of the things that I like about Missouri is the low taxes. Compared to California where, you know, 10, 11, 12% like sales tax.
Right. Then
there's like not just federal and state taxes, there's also local income taxes in some places. And so, and you know, especially in like Silicon Valley, Hollywood areas, you're paying city sales tax, or I mean city income taxes on top of everything else. So one of the great things about Missouri, low taxes. Sales taxes are reasonable compared to California. I know there's some states where there's better, but the property and you know, personal property taxes, income taxes are really low.
And other kind of taxes that aren't really labeled taxes, like surcharges on gasoline.
Yeah, fees.
Right, things of that nature. There are many fewer here.
Yes, quite a few.
Okay, so let's talk about registering our cars every year in California. Our emissions test and our registration usually would cost us
$700.
Yeah, several $100s
every year.
And here we paid $12 for the inspection, and then
like $30 for 2 years.
Yeah, almost nothing in comparison, and that's because of taxes. All right, moving on, but something that's similar. Fewer people here, and it's nice. My daughter was talking about how she has small class sizes at her school. In some of the cities there are larger class sizes, but she has a small number. Her student-teacher ratio, like her largest class last year was about 15 students, I think. And so it's nice to have a good student-teacher ratio like that, and they can get a lot more individualized attention. There's also what fewer people means less traffic, and
it's just a much slower pace of life as well in the rural areas.
Yes.
You know, where California was just like city and city and city for hours. You could drive for 2 to 3 hours and never be outside of the city.
Right. So it's nice to live where it's not crowded all the time, where there's parking spots at the mall or the grocery store And you're just not constantly surrounded by people.
All right, my next one is green stuff grows. I mean, there's actually rain here, so it's not like your Oklahoma Dust Bowl where stuff doesn't grow.
Or your Southern California where sometimes they water ration.
Yeah,
there's so
water
much drought.
rationing and
or where we had to pay for water.
Right.
And our water bill was high, and so to have a garden was just that much higher. Here we're on well water and we have rain. So really...
And it's a tiered system there, right? This is your ration at this price, and if you exceed that,
right,
then you're paying a penalty price that's a much higher per gallon charge.
Yep. So that was another thing.
So that and the climate, good soil here, all of that adds up to green stuff grows.
Right. We looked at a couple other states, and when we were looking at properties, and it just wasn't as green. The states we were looking at specifically were ones where we had family, so that we could move closer to family, and this was the greenest of them, and where we could afford some land with some room to grow things. Also, 4 seasons here. Right. We have spring, summer, winter, fall. I had to make sure I was getting them in order there. In California,
it's just the same.
Right. You got June
sunny
bloom,
and 70.
Or you got, the Christmas time where it's a little bit chilly, but basically it's sunny and 70 year round.
Wait, and California chilly is like 65.
Right.
Right. They're putting on their big parkas at 65 people. It's just, that's the way it is there. Your blood gets thin in California.
It does. Is that why you're shivering all the time this winter? You're still...
I got my sweater on today.
Yeah. So we can come to Missouri and experience all 4 seasons. What you got, Chris?
No or very few building codes, especially in rural areas. Where we are here in Douglas County, we built our house from the ground up. No inspections, no inspection fees, no permits, no permit fees.
Right. Now that's not to say that we tried to cut any corners.
No.
Chris did his diligence.
Yeah. And
our house is probably built better than to code.
Yeah, it's above code.
Right.
And that's one of the things I stressed with our general contractor, Greg, that we wanted everything to spec or above. And there were several items where he's like, you don't really need to do that. And I'm like, but I just want that extra measure of safety and everything. But it's good for people that are trying to do tiny homes or shed to house type things. Those little sheds are on like every kind of street corner, not every corner, but there's like one in every town where you can go and get one of those sheds
and have it delivered.
Yeah.
Or if you want to do something experimental, like if you want to do a straw bale house or
cob or
so you really, the sky's the limit. We know a person who built a cob house, and they just were like, okay, we're gonna build all the walls, and then when we have money, we'll put in some windows, and it also helps if you want to live off grid, because there's not going to be the city knocking on your door saying, why aren't you paying for utilities?
Right. Why aren't you hooked up to city sewer? Why aren't you, city water and electric? And we want your money, basically, is what they're saying.
Or, any addition you want to do, you got to go down and get somebody to, come check every step. So.
Yeah, and one of the things when we were building here, and I was still working in California at the time, my friends were all shocked that we were able to do it that way, because they were trying to just do like small additions or small changes to their front porch, and they were paying thousands in like permits and inspection fees.
Yep. All right, so next on my list is there's fun stuff to do here. We live not very far from Branson, so there's a lot of shows and activities and family-friendly things to do there. Also, there's lots of water activities, rivers and lakes, so there's boating and fishing and float trips and things like that. Lots of camping. The Mark Twain National Forest?
Yes.
I think it is. The Mark Twain National Forest covers a big portion of the state, so there's lots of hiking and waterfalls. Many, many caves that you can go explore.
Spelunking. That's your $2 word, people.
There you go. Write it down. You've been educated. I lost my train of thought. What else? Oh, hunting and fishing. which is really good for homesteaders and people who are trying to be more self-sufficient, like we are. And once again, the fees are not outrageous.
No, if you own land, you can get depending on how many acres. I think the baseline is 3 deer tags, and then it goes up from there at zero cost.
Right.
So turkey tags, deer tags, all that on your own land, no fees, no expense for that.
So that's just another low cost of living plug, but it wasn't really part of it. But there's lots of fun things to do.
Yeah, and there's also a good trapping community here for those that are into that. For pelts, it's another source of income. Not my thing. I'm not, I'm friends with those that
right.
are. And I like looking at their pictures of what they catch, and it's a good source of income for them.
Right.
And he talks about, hey, stop on the side of the road. There's dead bobcat, someone hit with a car. It's not in too bad a shape. That's $35 apparently. I never would have known.
Now we know.
Now we know.
Okay. Let's see. I think you're next.
Okay. Well, big one for me is gun laws. So, California's going to be bad.
Now, there's a list that you actually looked up to see where the states we were looking at ranked.
Right. I think GUNS&AMMO put out a list a while back, and they've done it several years running, and they ranked each of the states. And I think ever since they've been doing it, Arizona's #1. But a lot of people talk about, Texas, and you think Texas is a great gun rights state. It's actually slipping further down the list, and Missouri's actually moving up because we have now constitutional carry here in Missouri. Mm-hmm. And what that means for you that don't know, you can carry a concealed firearm anywhere in the state, with the exception of government buildings, without having a permit. If you do want a permit here in Missouri, it's shall issue, so you pay the fee and you can get a permit. And we got reciprocity with close to 32 states, I think. So when you're traveling, that's an advantage as well.
Yeah, and so for people who are firearms aficionados or concerned with their personal safety and like to carry for either of those reasons, it's a good place to live. And you can also purchase the guns with fewer restrictions.
Right. Same day, instant background check, cash and carry pretty much if you pass. They also have access to NFA items such as machine guns or silencers if your budget allows.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not one of those people.
And our budget doesn't allow.
And our budget doesn't allow for much these days. It's a good thing we live where there's a low cost of living. All right, so I have saved what I think is the best thing about Missouri for last. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, the people.
The people
are so friendly and so neighborly, and really there's such a sense of community, and they take care of each other. I have never lived anywhere, and we always have made an effort to know our neighbors, even when we lived in suburban California and when we lived in city California near the Los Angeles area. We had good relationships with our neighbors who lived right around us in the 4 or 5 houses right around our house. But the people here, they'll take their coat off and give it to you in a heartbeat. I don't know how many times when my dad was sick and my mom was here mostly by herself, or the girls and I were here, she would call and the neighbors would come over that minute, drop whatever they were doing, and come help. And not just one neighbor, but by neighbors I mean our community, our church community, our town, the people who live around us. They're just really good folks. And if you ask for advice, they're going to give it. They're not going to be all up in your business if you're not asking for it. They're going to let you find out the hard way or make mistakes or whatever. But if you want to know, how do we need to do such and such with the cow, or where do you guys go to get this, or would you mind coming and taking a look at my animal and telling me what you think I should do here, and that kind of thing. They're just really, really good people.
Yeah. And
things here are still done on a handshake.
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've told the story about our storage locker. When we moved, our storage unit, when we moved from California, we had most of our stuff at my mom's house, but we had a few bigger items that we needed a storage unit for. So my mom called her pastor and was like, "Where do you know of a good storage unit near us?" And he's like, "Yeah, just a second." He called her back. He's like, "Okay, here's where it's located." And the owner said, just pick a unit and put your stuff in, put a lock on, and then send us a letter, and it's $35 a month. Just send it your name and address with your first month's payment. Here's the address to send it to. I never signed a contract. I never met anybody from the storage place ever. And I just would send my check in every month, or I sometimes would pay a few months in advance, and our stuff stayed there for 2 years. And when I was done, I sent them a letter and said, "We got all our stuff out, we're done," and that's it. So that's just, in California, you have to just about sign away your first child to get a storage unit.
Yeah, and same thing for like the construction work. You know, we've had bad experience with construction contractors or landscaping contractors, etc.
In California.
Yeah, out here it's not. You know, I said, well, how much money do you need up front? Thinking back to the California fiascos, and they're like, no, we'll just bring the stuff out and you pay us when the job's done.
Yeah.
And you know, and that kind of thing is, and you know, buying the wood stove. All right, so do we need to sign any paperwork? No, we'll just show up and you give us a check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we've signed a contract on anything really, have we, since we moved here?
No.
No. So it's been, people come out, they give an estimate, they shake your hand. When you call them up, they come back, they do the work, you pay them. It's quite a different thing than we were used to, but it's the way I think things should be done. So what
that's just
people say they're going to do, that's what they do.
One of the great things, the people.
Yeah.
So tell us what's so great about where you live in the comments below. And be sure to click through in the description to the other videos and see what they think about this great state of Missouri. If you're thinking about relocating, we wouldn't mind having you as a neighbor.
And we'd love having a subscription, a thumbs up, and comment. Yeah, we want to hear from you. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you later, guys. Big Daddy out. I'm trying on my new nicknames.
I don't know. Is Big Daddy worse? Yeah, Big Daddy's worse. I still think you're Mr. Girl.